Good evening and welcome, members of Impact Central Illinois, our guests, and our community partners especially. Welcome and thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Around here we say two words a lot. We say better together. When we say these words, we're talking about better in regard to our time, our treasure, and our talents. Most often, I gotta do something with this mask. Most often, when we talk about our treasure, we're talking about, sorry. We're really worried about hitting the wrong button on this computer and I just touched something. Anyway, so we think a lot about the dollars that we put together so that we can give away grants and make projects and programs happen in our local non-for-profits that wouldn't happen without us. But we also are very aware that people give in other ways. And so tonight we want to be really intentional about recognizing some members that give above and beyond. And I'm just realizing I left a gift out front, but I'll grab it. But Leslie Vanaken, would you stand up? Yeah. So this So I do have a gift. I apologize, I left it out on the counter. But I otherwise would have Leslie, it's blue. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Leslie. When I sat down to have coffee with Leslie 3 years ago and lay out the plan and kind of our dream of Impact Central Illinois, I have to say that pretty much from day one, she jumped in not only with both feet, but with her arms wide open. Leslie has been our founding events chair, and she has, as Shelley would say, everything Leslie does adds a touch of class. And it's true, her mother would be really proud of her. And she has done, I was thinking today, that Leslie has done things from lining up and welcoming and appreciating our guests and our speakers at our events to planning parties in person and parties in a bag. So we just want to say thank you. I will tell you, I should have to back up. 3 years ago when I talked to Leslie, she was not the working owner of a business. And she, in the last few years, has become one of interim health care. And so that consumes a lot of her time. So she has stepped away as our grants chair. And so she has left us, events chair, as I look at Kristen, events chair. And so, and she has left us in great hands, and I'll introduce her replacement in a minute. But we just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now you have to come forward so everybody can see you. So on that note, I'd also like to introduce to you our current board members. And I'd like to ask them to stand and stay standing. Our events chair, who is a new face and taking the baton that Leslie has passed, is Kathy Williams. So stay standing. Another new face is Vivian Standiford. And Vivian is our finance chair and also another new face. Wendy Ramsey is our treasurer and finance. Amy Stoller is our secretary. Kristen Zika, another new face because she got sick and had to go in the hospital the day of the annual meeting. So I say she's a new face, but she feels already like she's been here for quite a while. She's been a member from the beginning, but she's replacing Erin Selvey as our grants chair, and you'll hear from her again later. And Judy Huff, who is also in grants. She's our community partner, in charge of community partners relationships. And Jada Hare, also in grants. And she's our liaison to the not-for-profits. And Kathy Kwan is our marketing chair. And Shelley Weaver is vice president and membership chair. The reason I asked them to stay standing is, y'all hear about different boards, and it's kind of, sometimes a prestigious thing to say, all this board involvement that you've had. Our board adds a new dimension to the term working board because they have truly given of their time, treasure, and talent to pull this together and make it work. And I have goosebumps. I can't tell you how much effort has gone into this and how much they love you and how much they believe in what we're doing here. So thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Shelley.
Good evening. Thank you, Lo. Thanks so much, ladies, for being here tonight and being part of listening to the presenting of our community partners. We're really excited about that. That's the meat of why we're here tonight. And thank you, community partners, for being here, all of you. We're delighted to have you. We thank you for all the work that you do in our community. It's amazing. And bless your hearts for all of it. Thank you, ladies, for your membership. But before we get there, we have to start here because we have a most special announcement. We have exceeded our initial goal of 200 women. To celebrate. But it's because of you, ladies. It's because of you. And we want to make a little splash. I mean, we do the best we can around here on a dime. But we thank you so much for being a part of making this happen. We are well now. So we have 209 members officially tonight, which is incredible. This is September. It's amazing. And so we are well on our way now to funding our third grant to be given in June of 2022. So thank you, ladies. Welcome. Thank you. Hand clap. Everybody. I'd like you to know that working towards this end is a group effort, as Lori has mentioned. We have women who've given countless hours in membership. So ladies, this is kind of the only little thanks they get, except when I thank them. If you're part of the membership team in any capacity, would you please stand and let us acknowledge you? Thank you so much for serving. Thank you so much. We have 20 women on our membership team, so that just tells you how deep and wide it goes. I'd also like to say that welcome our guests this evening. I know we have some guests in the audience, and we're thankful that you are here. I hope you received a guest packet when you came. If you have any questions that we can answer for you, please see me or any of our board afterwards. We'd love to talk to you. There is a yellow card inside your packet if it is a desire of your heart to be a part of what we're doing in Central Illinois. If you would fill that out, if you're able to tonight, and sign it and just say, count me in, we would love that. No fees are due until December 31st. And to be a member, the requirements are to be a woman and to give $1,100 each year you commit to being in membership. So we thank you for that. And we look forward to possibly you being a part of us. And thank you so much. I'd like to bring up Carrie, who's just going to give us a short word on something that's upcoming.
Gosh, I had to almost give myself CPR with all that fanfare going on. My name's Carrie Redshaw. I stepped up to help with membership this summer, and if you joined this summer, most likely you have received a text or 2 or 3 or maybe 4 from me, just following up and getting to know you and thanking you for joining, and just really excited to be a part of that and to help out. And in your packets, if you remember, you got a Bring a Friend flyer, and that's a really, really fun event, and it's happening November 2nd. All the information is on the back of the flyer, and you will be getting an Evite for that, so look for that in your inbox, and hope to see you there. And
Connie Woodcock's here. Connie, where are you? I know you're here.
Yep,
Wave your hand.
yep, lovely home.
Is that Connie's home?
Lovely home, very lovely home. So anyway, thank you, and I hope to see you on November 2nd.
Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Ramsey, and darn it, Vivian, make a note, do not follow membership with finance. Get it done first. Everybody, in your packet is our letter to the membership, kind of just giving you a brief overview on how our financials are. There's also, because, you know, us finance people like charts and we like Excel spreadsheets, so you've got this in kind of a very high level, kind of recapping, but just to kind of give you the highlights of that. Of course, we raised $205,000, which we were very delighted to share with our community partners, and can't wait to hear about that. And then out of that, $180,000 came from our membership, and then we had $25,000 that we received from the Gilmore Foundation, which was just wonderful. On our spending side of it, we spent $9,632, of which 84.6% was spent on our programs. So that was our events like the town hall, the annual meeting, the information sessions, the new member sessions. And so, you know, we really are trying to be very vigilant about the money that, you know, all of us put in to spend it very wisely and not just solely on administration, which left us really about 15% that was spent on administration. To kind of give you an idea, and without going into all the detail, you can kind of see the breakdown. My name and number is on that letter. If you want to sit down and really have a more thorough discussion, I'm absolutely happy to do that. I just know sometimes people's eyes glaze over like deer when we talk numbers. So anyway, but I would like to recognize those that served on the grant review committee, but in the financial review kind of seat. And if you did, please stand up so we can recognize you and say a big thank you to everybody for that. I'd also like to put a pitch in, so for anybody, you don't have to be a CPA, you don't have to be a financial analyst to kind of take on that finance review role. We have a process, we have some procedures in place. We kind of give you a lot of guidance on how to do that. You are still a member of the grant review committee, and you can choose which one of the 4 areas that you would like to participate on. And so if you have any questions, again, please reach out to me, reach out to Vivian. We'll be happy to kind of explain the process, what the timeline looks like, and we'd love to have more people help and assist in that area. So thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Zika, and this past summer I stepped into Aaron Selby's very large, and I speak metaphorically there, but very large shoes to fill as the grants chair. And it has been, and it is an honor to be able to serve you and to serve you alongside honestly, some of the most intelligent, inspiring, and compassionate and committed women that I've ever met. And I mean that honestly. I am going to give you a quick grants update. We are so excited because we are about to begin our third grant cycle. And at this point, I'm joined with 208 other women to be able to transform our community with over $200,000 in grants. This year, we will have 4 focus areas, and they will be chaired by these incredible women that I mentioned earlier. When I say your name, if you could please stand. Our grant review committee that is going to be focused on the area of education will be chaired by Paula Hinton. Our health and wellness committee will be chaired by Yvonne Greer. Our family and social services committee will be chaired by Stacy Del Vecchio. Stacy's on vacation today, so she's unable to join us. Our Inspire committee, which will be focused on smaller nonprofits, will be chaired by Dawn Zink. You all, I've had an opportunity to work with them a few times already this fall, and if you are in the remotest way interested in serving on a grant review committee, I can promise you, you will have an incredible time. You will have an educational time. You will learn about those focus areas. And these women we are working together to kind of streamline the GRC review so that your experience, if you're on health and wellness, is similar to your experience if you're on education. And so we're working together to do that and to prepare for our training session in December. Those dates actually are in your packet. There was a grants update that has a date, a list of dates where those training sessions will happen, December 6th and December 9th. So it is our goal this year to award 2 impact grants in the amount of at least $100,000, as well as 1 grant, which we are titling the Inspire Grant, and that in the amount of $20,000. Organizations with annual gross receipts of greater than $250,000 are going to be eligible to compete in the impact grants, while organizations with those gross receipts less than $250,000, they're eligible to compete for the Inspire Grant. Please note that there still is a requirement that these organizations should have held 501c3 status for at least 3 years. We also have updated a few other guidelines. Those will be on our website. Those are kind of more detailed, and those will be on our website next week. If you would like more information on those, please, you can come talk to me, or you can always go online and find those updated grant guidelines as well. Finally, the grants committee did decide to streamline our process, and our Inspire grant will be following the same schedule and the same 5-phase funnel process review as our impact grant. So that will all be the same this year. So right now we are focused on preparing to start outreaching to the nonprofits in our community. And this nonprofit information session will be held on October 14th. It'll be at 6 p.m. at St. Thomas's Parish Hall. And so we are excited about kicking off our 3rd grant cycle with this information session. But one thing with being a grassroots organization, and one thing with being an organization that gives grants in the way we do, we need all the nonprofits in this area to know about us. And that requires you. If you have a neighbor, a friend, an acquaintance, someone you know from church who works in the not-for-profit community that serves Peoria, Tazewell, or Woodford County, please let them know about us. Let them know that we want to hear their big dreams. We want to hear their big, like, 6-figure big dreams, right? We want their big dreams. And it really requires all of us sharing about our great organization so that we can have amazing projects come forward and we can be part of funding those and helping bring those to reality. Let me make sure that I have everything. I'm sorry, so you all, I have a huge heart for this organization, but I am not a professional speaker. So I apologize for my shaky voice. So I Oh, I also wanted to say that if you know of anyone who is in the not-for-profit community that you can invite to the information session, please tell me and we'll make sure they get invited. But we also will be passing out at the doors as well as at all of the grant review committee tables and the financial review committee tables. We have little business cards that you can take, which you can actually just use as an invitation. So take a couple of them. It says you are invited to the not-for-profit information session. So take those, and then when you're at your next neighborhood outing and you know somebody who works in the not-for-profit community, you can hand that to them to invite them to our not-for-profit information session in October. So thank you for supporting this great organization. And like I said, I'm really excited about working with some amazing women on the Grant Review Committee this year.
Sign up for our committees.
I didn't say that. I'm sorry. It is a lot of fun. So with that, I want to introduce Kathy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm Kathy Kwan, the marketing chair, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge my marketing committee for all their hard work and dedication. Our marketing is really multifaceted. You know, we're marketing to prospective members, we're marketing and communicating with our current members, and then we're also, of course, marketing to our nonprofits. So there is quite a bit that goes into it, and I just could not do it without my team. They help with the social media, evites and communications, community outreach, videography. So if my team could please stand. Round of applause for them. And now if you could turn your attention to the screen, we put together a year in review video for you of our 2020-2021 membership year. Really pay attention to the end because we have a little surprise reveal for you. It's a new look for Impact, and it really reflects our growth and enthusiasm as an organization. So we're very excited to share it with you.
We have said this publicly to our membership, and I want to say it to you, that we believe our nonprofits are resilient and that their volunteers are dedicated. And so it is great, with a great joy, that we are collectively able to touch lives that need it most where we live.
It's time to celebrate. Come on, come out and play. It's such a perfect day to let it lead the way.
Thank you for being a 2021 member of Impact Central Illinois, and welcome to our second annual Impact and Inspire event. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for partnering with us this year. We are very excited about the impact that we are going to be able to have in our Central Illinois community this year with $205,000. Pretty unbelievable.
It's time to celebrate. Come on, come out and play. It's such a perfect day to let it lead the way. Yeah, our love will lead the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes, these are the good times. Hey, hey.
to our very first in-person annual meeting of Impact Central Illinois. Although we have had fun being with you via Zoom, in a few different ways virtually, we are so happy that we get to be with you face to face.
'Cause everything is better when we get together. Yes, these are the good times. And we're feeling alright. Yes, these are the good times. And we're feeling alright. 'Cause everything is better when we get together.
First grant recipient is St. Paul's and Urban Acres.
Yes, these are the good times.
Thank y'all for believing in us, and thank you. Thank you.
Number 2, the Center for Prevention of Abuse.
And we're feeling alright. 'Cause everything is better when we get together.
So this is our new logo. We thought it's just a bit more cheerful and really reflects our excitement as a women's collective giving organization. Before we introduce our speakers, there's a lot in this little packet. If you'll find these yellow and pink little cards, many of you asked what else you could do for the community partners. So we went back to them and asked them to put together a wish list. So all 3 have put together a separate little wish list. If anyone wants to go above and beyond, help them out with services, with things that they need, they would love, I'm sure, love your support. Each one also has who to contact if you would like to do something for them. So, thank you. And with that, we're so excited to have all 3 of our community partners here. And they've been asked to share what they see as our community's greatest needs and how their organization is helping to tackle those. So first up, we have Matt George. And Matt is the CEO of the Children's Home Association. You may have walked in here thinking he went to the wrong job because he was the former director here at HALT and the former president and CEO of Youth Farm, which later merged with the Children's Home in 2007 under his leadership.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I texted Andrea Parker and told her thanks for allowing everybody to use this building, and also called maintenance because Kathy Kwan made a mess up here. Totally joking. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you. The funds that you graciously gave us really impacted the boys and girls out at Youth Farm. We were able to use those dollars, and we actually bought new furniture for all of the kids' bedrooms, new beds, new desks, you name it, new furniture outside. We even had some extra dollars that we negotiated with the company that we got it from and leveraged your dollars to even do more. So it was, we turned that $130,000 into about $180,000. So it was pretty cool. Another thing that came out of it, and I know I'm supposed to talk about the community, but we were talking earlier, I can't talk about the community in 7 or 9 minutes, so I'm just, but another thing that came out of it in a great way is Dawn Zink came on our foundation board. So we welcome her, and she's jumped right in and helped us out. What I like about this group is really just go all in all the time. It's what I tell my team all the time. You have the compassion to be part of a group like this, but you have the passion to actually vet the process. And I think vetting the process is very, very important when you're looking at different nonprofits and trying to figure out where your dollars go, your hard-earned dollars, but at the same time you want to make an impact. Hence the name and the new logo. I need a new logo at Children's Home too. It's been 28 years, I think. But just want to thank you for that. We have about, I used to say all the time, and even last couple weeks ago at our big event, that 1,700 kids a month flow through our agency. It's I checked, it's even more. So that shows you, and you're going to hear from Carol, the numbers are up, and that's not a good thing. This town needs to do more collaboration. I truly believe that a lot of people don't know what that word means. We should be working more together. There's a lot of duplicate programs in our area. We need to streamline that. This group helps streamline that. So we appreciate it. That vetting process is bigger than you think. And it's very important. I came up here, and usually I don't know how to talk for only 7 minutes. And because what's going on in our community right now is crazy. And that's just being blunt and real. I mean, you hear about it, but you don't know about all of it. We see things that you really don't want to see. I always say if you peel back my head or Carol's or anybody's that's in our business and you kind of peel it back and look at the stories, there's about 500 good ones and 500 not so good ones. And we always like to talk about the wins, but the media and everything never talks about the wins. That's one plus about this group here is you get to celebrate. But kids are hurting, families are hurting, women are hurting. And our staff is. We're 72 open positions. Now think about that. We have 455 employees, but we have 72 open positions. And I normally would not say that's a number that you would care about or need to know about, but that's less people being helped in our community. I don't even know why I bring notes. Here at the Holt Center, I'll give you an example of something that's important in this community. Most people don't realize the importance of oral health in our public school systems. They focus on that here. Most of you probably don't know that most of the kids that miss school, and I'm not talking about skipping school or truancy. I'm talking about kids that are sick pre-COVID are because of oral health issues. That makes no sense. In this day and age, that makes 0 sense why that happens. There's 13,000 kids in Peoria Public Schools, and those kids can't go to the dentist? Pitiful. It's pitiful. Kids are couch surfing. If you don't know what that means, they're out and about. They just stay at a house for a week, and then they surf over to the other one. Here's a stat for you. 23,500 kids in the system in the state of Illinois. So we have in residential only 50 kids at Youth Farm. Where's the other 23,500? They're in places like ours, but there's also another stat you don't know. There's 300 kids missing every day. No one knows where they're at. That's pitiful, right? And I've told the DCFS director that. And he might not care what I say, but I'm pretty blunt lately. And the older I get, the more blunt I get. I think Carol can say the same. Because it's our job in this community to fight for these kids and family, and it's all of your jobs to take care of this community, and that's what you're doing. We have 260 foster care kids just at Children's Home. That doesn't include Lutheran, Youth and Family Solutions, I don't even know the other ones, Family Corps. They all have 100, 200. Those kids, we're lacking dads stepping up to the plate, and parents in general, but dads stepping up to the plate. That really gets me riled up. I have 5 kids, 4 daughters. In residential, there's a wait list a mile long. And the kicker of it is, and I'm just going to tell you because I know I'm talking to all women, nobody wants girls because they're the toughest population. So places like ours in the state are going like this to the girls' facilities. And now these girls get put into the system, and then they have to go to Carol's place because they're all trafficked. So it goes back to my collaboration piece at the beginning. And I don't know how long I'm going to be at Children's Home, but I will tell you this. It's my job to take care of this community, just like it's yours. And I'm going to fight. Every day I get up, I'm ready to brawl. And I told my wife, when I'm not waking up feeling ready to brawl, it's probably time, because I've been in this business my whole life. And it's tiring. But when you go back and see the kids that I see, it's just hard. It's hard. We own Children's Home. We own all. I'll go to the behavioral health piece and then I'll step down because then I'll just start getting fired up. We own all the crisis for 0 to age 21 in town. Now, what does that mean? We do these SAS screenings. The SAS screenings are crisis screenings. They're up 50%. 50%. Now, if you go to Keith Knepp, which I talk to on a weekly basis, CEO here at Unity Point, they don't have any beds. Chicago doesn't have any beds. Nobody has any hospitalization beds for these kids. But the need is 50% more. Someone predicted 20 years ago when Zeller closed that in 20 years it's going to hit the community hard. Well, it hit it. They were right. They had a crystal ball. It hit hard. This room's special. That number is going to hit 500 one of these days. And then you want to see impact. You're already making impact, but when it hits 500, you're going to have impact. Because agencies need it. But I will tell you this, why I said you're vetting it the right way is because, in my opinion, you have to have outcomes, you better show your worth, and you better stand by what you talk about. It's very, very important. And it's my job, Carol's job, others, the church, to take care of the smaller agencies and put them under our wing. But sometimes they don't want that. So if you're on a board and you're wondering why you're struggling, you're down 30% or 40%, or you're not hitting your number on fundraising, they need to be asked a question. The board does and the directors do. And that's, again, why I like this Impact Central Illinois. You vet. It's cool. It's what needs to be done. Let me go to my notes real quick, because there is something that our head of behavioral health wanted to say. So we are basically on call 24/7. We didn't have any days off during COVID and all this. And our behavioral health team, which is about 60 strong, They sit there, they're on call 24/7. So if there's a potential suicide, or if there's domestic violence sometimes that involves kids, and we have to get involved with the kids' part, and that's where that collaboration piece comes in, whatever it may be. We are averaging 180 calls a month. And check this out, between midnight and 6 a.m., one day we had 9 calls during midnight to 6 a.m. Who's up? Right? There's a lot going on in this town. Our kids are tired. They need to be back into school. They need to learn. They've fallen behind. My wife's a teacher, so I can say that. I'm not making a political statement. We need more teachers. We need more people like you that care. And we all need to chip in and do more. And that was my plea tonight. If you're not part of this group and you're a guest, sign up. Because the town needs you, the community, Lori and her team and her vision need you, and the center needs you, the church needs you, and all the other great applicants that you're going to get. Because there's a lot of good agencies here in town. There's a lot of good leaders. But this is the truth. There's a lot of people pulling back dollars and directing them towards the ones that are producing. So just think about that, and think about that does align with what you all do. And I'll end with this. The stuff that you're seeing, I'm sure when we do these Q&A here in a second, I'm sure we're going to get asked this, so I'm just going to bring it up now. The fights in the schools, it's not just Peoria. It's Bloomington, Urbana, Danville, Galesburg, Moline, and I'm not even going to mention Chicago. It's a whole different thing up there. But there is fatigue with leaders, with teachers, and with our systems. And we need to fix it. And it's all of our jobs to be able to fix it. So I want to thank you for having us. Thank you for everything that you do for Children's Home. We do need a new logo. I'm not joking on that. It's pitiful. It's a pitiful logo. But thank you so much, and I'll turn it over.
Next up, we have Carol Myrna, who is the CEO for the Center for Prevention of Abuse.
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Carol Myrna. I'm the CEO of the Center for Prevention of Abuse. It is a delight to be with you. Impact Central Illinois is a purposeful organization, benevolent organization, and we couldn't be more grateful to be partners with you. You're doing good work with the center, and I'm going to fill you in a little bit about that. The Center for Prevention of Abuse, or CFPA, as we like to call it, we are in our 46th year of operation, serving survivors of interpersonal violence. That's family and friends and neighbors and colleagues, and odds are somebody you know. Typically 1 in 10 people have become victims of some sort of violence at the hands of an intimate partner. So our mission is to help all people live free from violence and abuse, and our vision is what Matt said. You know, vision is infinite. It's something that you work towards forever, and you work towards it by accomplishing your mission. Our vision is for a safe and peaceful community, and we can only do that with partners like you. It's not just what we do, but it's what we believe. We like to think that we walk our talk. We serve people in our core areas of domestic violence, sexual assault, sexual abuse, elder abuse, abuse of adults living with disabilities, human trafficking, and then our not celebrated enough prevention education department. We believe that everyone is due peace, everywhere, at any time. And that's under all circumstances, and whether that's at school, at work, in the community, and most certainly at home. So for the purpose of sharing our greatest needs, which I was asked to do tonight, we're going to focus on domestic violence, family-centered services. And that's largely because of the generosity of Impact Central Illinois, who is currently funding a project within one of our emergency shelters, but also because October 1st begins Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's a month-long observance of coming together in unity as a community to work to help survivors of domestic violence.
Center for Prevention of Abuse, how may I direct your call? Center for Prevention of Abuse, how may I direct your call? Center for Prevention of Abuse, how may I direct your call? Center for Prevention of Abuse, how may I direct your call?
It's been 3 months since we saw you at your annual event, and in that time, we have received more than 2,500 calls to our crisis hotline. We have an emergency safe shelter in Peoria that has been at capacity in the past 3 months, and our shelter in Pekin has been near capacity. People have come to us for safe shelter, for counseling, for therapy, for safety planning, for crisis intervention, and so much more. We were also introduced to Maggie. Maggie's not her name. We changed names to protect confidentiality. But let me tell you about Maggie, because this is pertinent to the project that Impact funded. Maggie's in her late 50s. She's battling terminal cancer, and she is surviving domestic violence at the hands of her long-term live-in boyfriend. Her boyfriend is verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive to her, and she has entered our shelter by way of the local police department in the middle of the night on multiple occasions due to the volatility of their relationships. She lives in fear every day. The boyfriend physically assaults her on a regular basis. He's even thrown a bottle at her head, and he berates her verbally. Due to her cancer treatments, Maggie feels weak. She's unable to stand for long periods of time. She can't walk long distances, in fact, not even more than a few steps without help. Her walk is not much more than a shuffle, and she needs to remain seated most of the time. So you can imagine when she walked into the current bathroom in our Peoria safe shelter, that space is not conducive to healing for Maggie. Instead of a sink where she can wash her face and brush her teeth and take a deep breath before she gets some rest, Maggie sees a place where she will be forced to stand. And instead of a shower where she can rinse away the day and stand with warm water and steam and just feel better, she sees a boundary that she's unable to cross because she can't lift her legs high enough to put them over the edge of the tub. The same is in our kitchen. You know, I would say that most of us in the room can easily pour ourselves a cup of coffee in the morning, but simply maneuvering any portion of this kitchen can be daunting for someone who is otherwise abled. Maggie sees obstacles, annoyances, and safety hazards, and she sees reasons not to stay. We see it, and I actually hope you do too. We show these pictures to remind you of how those important and generous funds that Impact is providing to the Center for Prevention of Abuse will restore dignity and independence and hope for Maggie and every other Maggie that will come to us in the future. Abuse doesn't discriminate, and neither do we. The cycles of violence are true for almost all survivors, and it's crucial that our agency remains a safe haven. And that shelter is a big part of that, providing spaces where they can maintain their dignity and build a solid foundation for themselves and perhaps even their families. So in addition to the improvements in the Peoria shelter with the bathrooms and the kitchen renovations, we are proud to have accessibility projects. If you were at your annual meeting, we put together a puzzle, and we said that the shelter, bathrooms, and kitchen were part of our puzzle. Another big part of our puzzle is a facility that we have that will soon be, as soon as we can get all the supplies we need to build a new facility, we'll get a big makeover. We're so excited about it. We'd like to start that conversation with you this evening, and this facility is called Carroll House of Hope, and it was named in remembrance of a donor's daughter who passed away.
In 1998, there wasn't a safe option for individuals fleeing violence in the Pekin area. So this brought the attention of Dr. Wright and his wife. They donated the medical facility, and in 2011, the center actually took over those responsibilities for managing the program.
The 25 years that it's been in existence has done incredible amount of good for thousands of women and children that have gone for help.
When you walk into the Carroll House of Hope, you're immediately greeted by this staircase, which is extremely steep. You have to be very careful going up and down it. And the layout of the facility is not conducive to a shelter. Here we're all on one level, which is great because our residents, our guests can come out, they can see us, they can come to the main office, whereas there's more of a separation at Carroll House of Hope. You can imagine if we're at full capacity and you have 16 individuals, it can be very difficult in a communal setting.
It's an old home that became a doctor's office. So when you go into the shelter rooms, those are the former exam rooms. They're small. And when we have a capacity of people at Carroll House of Hope, it gets to be very crowded.
It meets its purpose. It provides the shelter. It's a safe place for people to go. It's as secure as it can possibly be. But we would like to have a place that's certainly more comfortable and accommodating to all individuals.
Even if someone doesn't have a different ability that makes it difficult for them to walk or anything like that, it's still difficult to go up and down the stairs. It's difficult to maneuver around that facility. It's just so old, and the setup is, it's not user-friendly. And so, yes, it meets the needs, but we could certainly do better.
Creating a new shelter, but also making sure we have space to serve as kind of an outreach site for all center services.
You know, the home is very old, and so it cannot be maintained forever without some type of major renovation. And so to have the ability to turn that renovation into a campus that can meet not just our emergency shelter needs, but can meet all of our clients' needs would be a blessing to the populations that we serve.
We see a future that creates a Carroll House of Hope that's able to provide therapy on site, that's able to do group sessions, that's able to meet the needs of women, men, and children with physical barriers, without physical barriers, truly meeting our mission of helping all people. And we're going to be able to do it in a way that Center for Prevention of Abuse has probably never done it before.
We are very excited about that. That was actually a fairly informal video that we made for our board of directors when we started the conversation, which became unanimously obvious that they were on board with working towards a new Carroll House of Hope. That facility represents another opportunity to bring hope and peace and healing to Central Illinois, and we're going to do it no matter what. That new facility will be accessible in many ways, and survivors can come for help and care and assistance and find that pathway to peace. So if you feel moved to continue supporting our accessibility project, we would be honored to have you help us create and build a safe new place for domestic violence survivors in Central Illinois by sponsoring a room, a piece of art, an appliance. All sorts of things are available. We're at the kickoff stages of that. In that video was Kevin Nolan, our Chief Operating Officer, and Fran Reyes, our Director of Domestic Violence Family Centered Services. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize there are a couple of our superheroes on our director's table, so I'm thankful for them. We also have current needs to support both of our shelters. And they range from food, and we have 3 food pantries and pantry items and cleaning supplies and sheets and other bedding, pillows. We always need pillows. So if you are compelled, with October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a month of unity, it is especially pertinent to provide these items if you're interested, and we would most certainly be grateful. I have long had a very dear favorite leadership book, 20 years, and I have read it multiple times. I give it as gift to every intern that I've ever had. I think I support the authors because it's not a widely known book, but I've had over 600 interns, so that's a lot of books for me to pass on to them. It's called Leading with Soul, and it's about providing authorship and significance and empowerment and love to the people that you lead. And at the Center for Prevention of Abuse, our team leads with soul by mending souls. We are client-centered. It's all about restoration, revival, deepening self-awareness, and helping to bring peace. So I want to say thank you again. We all did a dance when we got back to work and were able to share with everybody about the award that we received 3 months ago for the accessibility of the bathrooms and the kitchen in our Peoria shelter. It means so much, and I can't say thank you enough, so thank you.
Next we have Reverend Jonathan Thomas, who's the co-rector of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Peoria. St. Paul's partnered with Urban Acres, which was started by Catherine and Andy Diaz, who operate the Urban Acres Farm and Market in Peoria's North Valley.
Thank you for having me and for giving me a few moments to talk about the needs that I encounter in Peoria. I won't talk about our project specifically, but I will focus on the areas that it addresses because that's really what I've been immersed in over the last 2 years. So, nutritional security and small food entrepreneurship and what I see in Peoria right now. It's interesting about food insecurity at the moment. Unlike a couple of the other organizations that have seen demand increase, actually there are fewer people coming to food pantries, not just St. Paul's, but actually we meet with all of them across the area. A significant decrease, probably around 20% fewer. They think it has to do with increased child tax credits, the increase in food stamp money, other pandemic-related aid that's been focused towards food. That being said, we've seen kind of a bifurcation. We're seeing fewer people come, but more desperate need at the other end. We get fewer people who come to our scheduled meetings, but we scheduled food pantry events, but we get more people who come for emergency food, which we mean by anyone who can't wait for the scheduled time. The health department actually has a key to our building. They come and get food and deliver it to people who call the health department. They come and get food for 20 to 50 people a week from our food pantry. Lots of those are people who have COVID or have been in contact and they have to isolate and they don't have any food to make it through that area and are isolated enough that they don't do what you and I would do, which is call a friend and ask if we could drop it off on a doorstep, right? So they call the health department. So the neediest are becoming actually needier, right? Because of isolation and a number of other factors right now. On the other end, I do sometimes wonder if the people who are still coming to our food pantry might not have better access to nutrition than people who are getting more food stamp money. Because not only St. Paul's, but across the board in the area from Peoria Food Bank, Midwest Food Bank, on down, there's been an intense focus on providing more nutritional food. There's always fresh produce, there's always whole grains, there's always healthy dairy options. Many of the folks getting their money, getting their groceries from food stamps don't actually have access to a place where they can get all of those things. Lots of our neighborhoods, those items are just not accessible. And so I actually think people may have better nutritional access coming to food banks at the moment. And I worry about that and what to do with that. How do we meet that need in our community? I know there's a new grocery store being planned for the southern part of Western and these sorts of things that are hugely important. But this is a major problem in Peoria. On the food entrepreneur front, we have a lot of people who have already signed up for, like, I want to use the commissary kitchen as soon as it opens. The majority of them come from the 61605 or the 61603 zip codes. They are overwhelmingly women, not exclusively, but overwhelmingly. My big concern moving forward is whether they will have access to capital to expand their business, right? Because they don't have equity in the home. They don't have all the things that we would normally require to get a loan, right? There's been really good work done in recent years on microloans in all sorts of developing nations, and I think some of the same things hold true in developing communities and developing neighborhoods, right? The fastest way to bring a family out of poverty is a microloan to a mother entrepreneur, right? Comes as no surprise, I'm guessing, to the people of this room, right? I don't know what the answer to that is moving forward, but I think it's something that needs to be thought about, because those two zip codes need to see people in their own neighborhoods becoming successful, so that they can see that as a viable path, so that those neighborhoods are restored, so that they can dream that dream, right, and decide to go that direction. So in both areas, what I'm really talking about is an equity problem, right? And it comes to a surprise to no one, right, that Peoria has serious equity issues that we need to talk about, we need to address. Equity as defined as access to resources and power, right? I think coming out of COVID, we have choices to make about what we do next. And do we invest to bring back some neighborhoods, to open gates and create pathways, or not? But I think if we don't do this in the next couple of years, we move back into a cycle where we've solidified this for another decade, another generation. We need to make a serious push for people to have access to take the next step up the rung, right? To begin restoring their own neighborhoods, to take control of their own families' progress. These things, being able to control your employment, being able to control your nutritional health, right, are phenomenally important. They play into educational performance, they play into long-term health. So this is the time when we have to make a push, whether it's with advocating how we use public money we've gotten in the city, or where we make a push in our own organizations about where we're going to put our effort in the next couple of years to really change Peoria and its progress moving forward. All of the above, I think, is the answer. I think that's what I want to share.
Either a general question or a specific question for any of our community partners. We'd love to hear from you. Yes.
Matt, you spoke of collaboration and that many of our organizations are offering duplicate services. We ran into that quite a bit in our analysis of the grant applicants last year. How do we begin the conversations, or are they already underway, to create those collaborations? Because I would imagine everyone that's created an organization thinks they're filling whatever need exists that they can see in the realm around them. And it just replicated itself.
Yeah. The problem that, and this is just my opinion, the problem is we just have too many 501c3s, number one. Number two, sometimes nonprofits, for the sake of survival, expand and don't have the knowledge or wherewithal to be able to expand the right way. That's another thing. Third thing is legacy, which you're referring to, and we've been here 60 years or 70 years, and we've, so that entitlement piece, I'm being very blunt. And then the fourth one is ego. The boards have an obligation to do what's best for the mission and the community. They don't have an obligation to necessarily stay in business or own a piece of a business when somebody down the street could be doing it better. Or you could be doing it together. Because, see, a lot of times it's money in, money out. A grant's money in, money out, right? It's supposed to help. So what are you doing? Stockpiling a grant dollar? You can't, really. Now, you could fundraise. That's a whole different thing. But if a lot of these programs, especially state-funded programs, they're directed, and they try to do a good job, but there's so many different state entities that have different rules and so on, and everything's just expanded. I think boards need to step up and take more ownership in the agencies. And it's hard because everybody wants new board members. And there's two things boards don't want to be part of. They want to be part of a merger and acquisition, and they don't want to be part of getting rid of the CEO. Everything else is fun. So that's my answer. Carol may have a different answer, but
I think that there are lots of ways to collaborate. We can collaborate on dinner at my house. People come together and each one takes a different dish. We collaborated when we took ownership of Carroll House of Hope 11 years ago, because that board was no longer able to provide the type of care and the quality care that they wanted. We have 140-ish MOUs with other agencies across the country. Our service area for human trafficking is 46 counties. It's the central district of the U.S. Attorney. We're the only providers. So we have to partner with other service agencies who may not have a specialty in human trafficking. We're going to provide the case management, but they're going to provide the place. So, collaborating with someone does not necessarily always mean a merger. Right. It can. Matt's been involved in a couple of them, and there's great worth in that. In many instances, it was great worth with us bringing Carroll House of Hope on. But I think that collaboration and cooperation and opening our doors to folks that are interested in learning. When we were looking at our Human Trafficking Services Department, it was my mission. I was charged with, do we want to be the leader, the top of the pyramid, or do we want to create an army of agencies to take this on? And the answer is yes to both of those things. So you can have ownership, and you can, ego is not always a bad thing. You got to own what you do to make sure that it's done well. But we can't do anything without other people. When geese fly in a V formation, they do that with purpose. They get where they're going 40% faster by flying in a V formation. And when they fly alone, it's slow, it's unwieldy, they don't have the same sense of direction. So there's a lot of greatness in joining hands.
And we, to piggyback, we actually ride the coattails of Center because that trafficking piece, they're the experts in it. We don't need to be the experts in it when someone's already better at it. So I think that's what Carol's saying. The other thing, just to piggyback, I didn't answer the one part. Stuff is happening and it's coming with donors. Donors are really guiding this collaborative talk right now, and it's happened in the last probably 2 to 3 years more than I've heard chirping. I've heard it for years, but it's really happening more now than I've heard before. Working together.
I don't know if you answered this or not. I was out there coughing. Are you just going to redo the Carroll House, or are you adding on to it, or what is your plan for that?
It is a brand new facility.
A brand new
is what's
facility.
being planned.
In the same location?
In about 5 blocks away. We're still working with the city of Pekin on ground. But we have drawings. We are prepared to move ahead as soon as the construction industry is a little more favorable. And it's been a wonderful gift to be able to, the Center for Prevention of Abuse is debt-free. And we don't take on debt on purpose. So we saved enough money to get to the point where we could build the building, and knowing that we would be able to solicit partnerships to be able to, what do they call it? Fixtures, furniture, and something. So that all costs, so that's what we're seeking partnerships on. But we looked at for 2 years the possibility of building on to the existing footprint, but it would be far more expensive than building a new building.
Then are you selling that? Are you selling it, or what are you doing?
It was in the negotiation with the city of Pekin to let them have it. I don't think that they want it, was what that's going to end up. So it is steps away from their library if they ever wanted additional parking. It's 2 doors down from Everett Dirkson's childhood home if they ever choose to redo that someday as a historic place. So it has worth. I don't really want to sell it to somebody that's not going to put it to good use. So building a new building won't be contingent upon having that sold. Thank you for asking.
I have a question for Jonathan. So you were talking about things we need to do to go forward in terms of supporting especially women entrepreneurs. We talked about microloans. Are there other things that we ought to be focusing on, and where would be the best kind of start, or who would be the best resources to keep that going forward?
Besides microloans, I would say you should support the businesses. It's,
Sure.
fairly clear that's how things grow, right? I mean, you've, as a group, you've supported a lot of them by creating a low-cost entry place, right? Not free on purpose, right? But very few barriers to starting a business. What we're now trying to work on is putting together teams that can give things like financial advice. How do you write a business plan? These sorts of things. So that's an area that these women are going to need, all but by and large, right? A lot of people are going to need help.
This one's kind of for Jonathan and Matt. When I was young, I was raised in the church, so we always had a couple families that were foster families. We'd see the kids come in, they had like 4 or 5 kids. Are you still seeing that trend of foster families in Peoria? Is that something that you guys are working on, or you need, or are there programs for that?
Oh, we definitely need it. It's part of our new strategy is to expand. We need more foster parents, period. I mean, there's kids out there, everybody wants babies. And that's sad when there's an 11-year-old and a 10-year-old brother and sister that are looking for a place to stay. And we see it all the time. And then don't even start getting to age 14 and 15 and 16 on up. And we need loving people. We need to work with the churches. There's a good example of, we do work with some churches, and we do have groups that have, there have been foster parents that have come out of those churches, even in emergency situations too. So, but it is such a need that it's in our proposed to our board next 3 to 5 year plan to how do we expand the footprint of foster care. That's probably one of 2 areas our agency really needs to focus on, and the state is focusing on foster care more than ever because there is such an influx of kids that are just wandering, stuck, lost.
Yeah. We are seeing more people, and actually since the pandemic started, I have heard a lot more conversations about people. Maybe they have thought about it as a couple for a while, but really saying, like, I hear the need is great. We have good friends over at Imago Day Church. They actually run some like support for foster parents. They once a month they have a night, has childcare and everything, so that parents can be together, can talk, can get some education. And so there are programs, and there's definitely a need. And I see people starting to step up.
On that same note, why you mentioned that girls were harder or less desirable. Why?
In a residential setting, typically, boys, if they fight or have an issue, it usually is quick. And then they'll just move on. We have situations in the girls' cottage where it festers for 2-3 weeks. And then there's a division, and it's 5 versus 5 or 6 versus whatever. And there's girl things too. You know, if females run, you're worried about coming back and potentially being pregnant, and that brings a whole different subset of issues. There's just a lot of issues. Boys are problems. But if you think about it, people will say all the time, like with residential and so on, you know, these kids a lot of times just need a hug. I mean, these kids have not been loved, they've been kicked to the street, and then if you put 50 of my kids, if I had 50 kids and put them on one campus, they'd be brawling too. And so it's not that they're bad kids, they're kids that have been put in tough situations that actually need love. And girls are hard.
We took in 2 foster kids this past year, and I don't know if this is a possibility, but it was the 15 hours a week of meetings and appointments, and that was really hard on my family. And if you could solve that, I would take in more foster kids.
Yeah. No, we can talk offline because it is very frustrating.
It is.
There's a lot of good people that want to help. And even our staff, like we have to go through different trainings like our staff does, and that's understandable, but there's 4 and 6 week waiting periods. So if we hired somebody, they can't really go front line and take a case for 2 months. That doesn't even make sense. And somebody that's actually been in social service work for 10, 15 years, there's systematic issues that are.
I mean, if you're working with the state, that might be one area that I do believe other people would take kids in, but it really is hard on a family.
I agree. I appreciate you saying that. Actually, it's a barrier. It's a barrier.
Penny? I don't even want to ask this question, but I've heard of the answer. But what do you do when you're at full capacity?
So we have a variety of ways that we can serve. We never turn anyone away. We give choices, and that's what we're all about in being client-centered, is we find out what the client wants. And if that's to go to another facility, maybe Neville House in Bloomington, maybe Harbor House in Galesburg, we're going to make sure you get to where you need to go. we find out that somebody just wants to go to their mom in Arkansas. So we're going to make sure that we facilitate that. Everything that we do is free and confidential. So no matter where we get you, as long as you want to be there, we're going to make sure that you go there without issue, without cost. There have been times where somebody just wants respite and they'll go to a hotel, but we'll take care of it. And we have staff there with them, so whatever they might need, we have somebody that's there to make sure that they're well taken care of. I don't personally choose to do that, like to do that. I think that it's called safe shelter for a reason. So we do everything that we can to make sure that somebody has room. People can come stay with us in our emergency shelter typically for up to 6 weeks. And most people don't. It's not home. And on average, somebody who's in an abusive relationship returns to that relationship 7 times before they finally leave it for good. So we always welcome somebody back. We may very well have you for 3 hours just because you need to get away, or 3 days, or 3 weeks. But the longer you're there, or the more times you come back, that's more education we can impart to hopefully share enough with you that you're going to desire that independence, that you understand peaceful conflict resolution. And to piggyback on what was just talked about, we have a family violence intervention program, which is where, because we're holistic, where we care for people who are sentenced as abusers. So it's in a different location. We have 6 locations. And mostly the courts sentence them to us to have classes on, 26 weeks worth of classes on accountability. And it's very interesting to watch, but you'll find that most of the time abusers have come from abusive families, and they wouldn't know a healthy relationship if it stood right in front of them and stomped on their toe. It is an anomaly. So being able to unlearn abusive behavior and learn what it's like to have the opportunity for a healthy relationship is unique. We teach that in our prevention education department, where we see the itty-bitties, preschool all the way through college. Peaceful conflict resolution and healthy relationships are part of that curriculum if the school allows us to provide that 12-week course in each age group. It's age-appropriate, comprehensive, evidence-based, but not every school wants that. They just want what meets the mandates. But when they allow us, we see tremendous results. We measure everything that we do. But when you can go into a 3rd grade class at Charter Oak, I will never forget it, my first observation. And the 3rd grader said, Miss Laura, are you talking about empathy? And understood empathy before I was able to say empathy. But that's cool. And she taught them in 2nd grade, and she taught them in 1st grade. And she was able to establish that relationship. And every year that education was stepped up a notch. So it's not all about education, but it is a lot about education. If you can get kids early and show them that there are other ways, it has an impact.
I have a question for you. What's the employment rate of your in-house patients, or, I'm sorry, what do you?
Actually, it's surprising that about 70% of the people that come stay with us have jobs.
Yeah.
If you walk through the shelter during a work day or any shift, you'll wonder why it's so quiet, and it's because people are at work. You know, abuse affects everybody, every socioeconomic group, every culture, every age group. And we'll have mom come, and she'll have 2 kids with her, and she'll, I have to go to work. What am I going to do with my kids? Well, we're a latchkey program. We're also pick up and drop off for the school bus. And we have a child center that's not daycare, it's child care, but we have 2 early childhood educators that we will take good care of your kids so you can keep working. And if you don't have a job and you want one, and you tell us you want one, my goodness, we'll help you do it. That's usually in partnership with another agency.
Carol, I was going to ask you, do you have staffing issues currently, or are you guys doing all right?
We do. I was, when Greater Peoria Economic Development and the Chambers did the hiring thing on September 1st, I did that news conference because we can't, we're essential workers, like Children's Home. We serve 6,000 people a year, not counting our prevention education department. So we can't do without. And I think at last count, it's nothing compared. We have 125 positions in 6 locations, and I probably have 7 jobs available right now, from leadership to part-time.
One last question? And they'll be around afterwards, so I think, yeah, if we kind of wrap it up so that if you need to go, you can, but if you want to ask a question afterwards, I'm sure they'll. Well, thank you all three of you.